it has been a while since we've done a Then and Now series. I love looking at older toys and seeing the inspiration, which has led to their evolution over the years. And I think it's time that we do another video. And last time we did, well, we did two of them. We did the Playmates TMNT versus the Super 7 TMNT. And then we did a classic Toy Biz Marvel character against the modern vintage throwback inspiration from the Marvel Legends line. We did Apocalypse there, so you can check those out. Today we're going to do Masters of the Universe. One of my favorite characters was Mossman, and I think it's simply because of his design with that flocked feature on hard plastic, so it's a very weird character. This is my original Mossman back from the 80s. He's held up pretty well over the years, although his moss has seen some better days because he's picked up like every little bit of I don't know, fuzz that has come onto him over the years in storage. So we'll be checking him out against his modern counterpart, and this just came out, so I thought it was the perfect time to check it out. And it's going to be Mossman from this collector's throwback edition, retro play as they call it. So we'll see how his flockiness stacks up to the vintage Mossman right here. Mossman in the original, as you can see in the packaging right here, very simple. He just came with his club or mace, whatever you want to call it, and a little comic in there. Nothing else. This was it. Obviously, this new Mossman, he has that old sort of club inspired by the club. He has a Morning Star on here, and he has this yellow armor. Now, I have seen some versions of Mossman that have come with this yellow armor, so I'm not really familiar where this comes from. So it might be a deluxe or another variant issuance of him, because typically he was just issued like this, no armor, as you can see in the packaging there. So we'll check out that armor, but I have seen versions of him with that armor, so it might be another version I'm not familiar with. Either way, we'll be checking this guy out. I think he was a Walmart exclusive. That's where I picked him up at. He was originally 30, but I think I got him on clearance for like 15, and I think he's down to like 12 bucks now. So definitely a great time to pick him up if you're not a Mossman fan. Or, I mean, sorry, if you're a Masters of the Universe fan and you're looking for these retro characters. Even if you're not a Mossman fan, he's 12 bucks, so he'll help you round out that collection. So, yeah, definitely pick these guys up if you see them on clearance. I think they're fun. Anything throwback for me is always fun, but this segment is about evolution. So it's not going to be a one-to-one copy. It's going to be sort of the modern take if we had that technology back then of what Mossman would have looked like we saw with the Marvel Legends and like we saw with the Super 7 version of those classic throwback characters. So inspired but also evolved, and that's then and now. So why don't we come in close, we'll unbox this guy and see how he compares to his original counterpart. Alright, so we got our original Masters of the Universe figure here from Mattel. His only accessory was this brown mace. I think there might have been other versions of it, gray, yellow, and whatnot. He had this open left hand. His articulation was limited to 5 points. He had his head turned, and this is fake. You hear it squeaking. It has not seen a lot of daylight in these last 30 years or so, almost 40 years. So you could hear the arms here up and down, the legs kind of, they're this weird, they're on the U, or the O-ring, I'm sorry. So they kind of have that, you could pull them a little bit, they had that dynamic there. They just moved side to side, back and forth, and oh, I'm sorry, 6 points of articulation. He had that waist. Because of that O-ring, he has sort of this snap feature that allows him to like swing the mace. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at the waist there. So that was pretty much the standard for all these Masters of the Universe figures. So the other aspect he had to him is this moss element on him, and it's sort of like a flocked aspect. It really is flocked on top of the hard plastic here to make it mossy. And you can see I got little bits of other stuff stuck in there over the years from wherever it was in storage. Any little piece of fuzz will stick to him. But that was basically it. I think he was just fun because of that flocked aspect to the character. It really gave that gross sort of feel to it. And as a kid, and as a boy in particular, that was just cool. A little gross kind of character. I remember a lot of gross kind of toys that really got that mass appeal when I was a kid. I mean, you had the Toxie in the Avengers series, Toxic Avengers, and then you had there was ooze that came with the Masters of the Universe figures. There was slime that came with the Ghostbusters figures. There was, yeah, that was kind of with a couple different characters, all kind of used the same stuff at the time. So anything gross was really popular. So we're popping this open. This again is Mattel as well, and this is just a redo of their classic line is what they're calling it. And we have our new Moss Man right here. So we'll pop him out. Looks like he has a little comic book, as was standard from the original series as well. So a little Moss Man comic book, so that's fun. And then we have our Moss Man. See, obviously a different color. And part of that is it's just a different color, and part of it is this is a lot older, but I think he was a much darker green. So this is a lot brighter. It looks kind of, you know, swampier, a little bit more inviting, mossier, if you will. He has this new hard Morningstar accessory, if I can get it out of there. And then he has a changeable left hand here to make it a weapon holding hand. So you could have two weapon holding hands. Originally, it was just an open hand. So we'll take out our Mossman here. Oh, we have his Morningstar. This one, similar, different mold, different plastic, a little smaller. And it has a sort of, what is this? Not a holster, like a strap or something to mount it on him or hold it. I'm not really sure the intention of that. And then we have our Mossman character here. You can see a lot taller, actually, than the original Moss Man. I would check that out in just a second. Actually, we'll check him out now. We'll go back to the other accessories. So, I mean, different feel to him, and I don't know what an original Moss Man feels like anymore. It's been like at least 30 years, so I can't tell you that for sure. He's a lot softer, and I think it's because he's brand new. This guy, I don't think was ever this plushy, though. So there's a lot more moss layered onto this Moss Man than there was on the original. So, I mean, he's still got the same face, right? Yeah, pretty close in the face. I mean, the features are just a little better. It's a better technology with the face sculpts and the printer, however they're doing it these days. Just better. Probably the moss was better application. I think even in his heyday, it wasn't 100% on the body. His shoulders still have that same sort of motion, but this guy's got elbows. So he can actually bend at the elbow. Really nice range of motion there on the arm. And the wrists articulate too, which he did not have on the original. The hands look a lot more, better. They look a lot better. They look like very developed hands. So he's got better articulation in the... Oh, look, the shoulder actually goes in and out and up and down. So he's got another point of articulation in there. He could turn at the waist. He does not have that snapback feature. Haha, point to the original. And he's got hip articulation like the original had the same range of motion in the hips, but this guy's got knees. So you could bend the knees. So modern articulation on this figure, and they hit that well with the moss. And then he's got ankle articulation. So modern articulation is sort of one of the winning features here. He's a little bit taller than the other one. So a little harder to find the center of gravity on this guy compared to the original. That guy just kind of balanced because he had more motion in the hips here. So you're going to have to tweak him around a little bit to get that happy medium where he could actually stand. And then we got our guy here. Let's give him his mace so we could compare apples to apples here. The bigger difference being that the mace is completely different. I mean, different color scheme in the belt, but very, very similar as you could see. I want to say the original looks a little more detailed in the loincloth than the modern version does, which is kind of weird. So Mattel did a really good job back then, I guess, of designing this. But altogether, I mean, you get a shiny, newer figure with a better articulation, better design to the character. He's got a little bit more features, and you can see the muscles a little better, even on the back muscles, if you could see those, a little bit better designed. Just a lot more in the mold nowadays than the original. He's also a lot taller, as I said several times. He's a good head taller than the original. Speaking of heads, you could switch it out. You get this alternate head here, not flocked, so I'm not a huge fan of that, but it's a scarier, bigger mouth for Moss Man. And then you have the armor, which is also optional to put on. Like I said, this armor did exist in the original collection. I'm not sure of the version of Moss Man it came with, though. But this is like you would just put it on over the head like this, and then the bottom would get secured around the back, and then these would just kind of pop up onto the arms like this, and just kind of go up on the arm. I think right around here. That was basically how it would look. They had straps, so you could take them off and put them on, but I remember as a kid I didn't want to fuss with it, so you just kind of slipped them on the arm and worked their way up. And he looked roughly like this. Yeah, That's basically what he looked like. And this looks very similar to that original armor that I was talking about. It was more on Beastman than it was on Mossman, and it was a different color, but there was a version of Mossman. I remember seeing pictures of it online, so I don't know if someone customized that or what, but the original version, as I showed you in packaging, very simple card back. This was it in terms of weapons. I'm just impressed I still have mine. But the modern version, better articulation, more accessories, switchable hands, switchable heads, head to toe flocking, like really nice. They did a flocking good job with the flocking. So a ton of flocking on there. He's flocking amazing. And I gotta say, I do miss the twist feature on the waist. That was kind of a fun little action figure of having that rubber band, that O-ring in the waistband there. Those did snap over time though. So our modern articulation in this guy, just a better color scheme. I think I like the lighter one. I can't remember if he was lighter, but I don't think he was. I don't think he got darker with time. He was, I mean, in a basement, so he didn't, get affected by the sun in any way. Just picked up a lot of little clinging static fuzz. Yeah, I mean, this is what this segment is about, is seeing how characters have evolved when you have this great throwback look to a classic character. If we could have done a classic style character today, this is what it would have looked like, and it would have had the biggest thing being the modern articulation. So you see that on these figures today, where everything is beyond, we're well past the 5 POA for the most part. You don't see a lot of 5 POA figures anymore. We want knees that bend and arms that bend, so you could do a little bit more posing, put them inside vehicles, interact with them a little bit more. They're action figures. They can do action now instead of just moving like robots. So it's nice to see that modern articulation. Feels a lot better, but again, this is new fuzz, so I can't really judge it, but he is way fuzzier than I remember this guy, even in his heyday. And I have seen some carded versions of him, and he's just a little puffier than this, but nowhere near as fluffy as this Moss Man. So they made it mossy, but not overly done. So I think this really good job in this modern version. And he really has that feel and look of the classic 80s figure, as you can see right here next to him. He really captures that sort of fun dynamic of this great line. Yeah, so really nice mold. I like it. I wasn't going to pay $30 for it, but at $15, it's right there for me. It's a nice little nostalgia kick. It's an interesting character. He's very different. I kind of like that about him. So yeah, he's definitely very interesting, to say the least. So that is your look at a Then and Now for Mossman by Mattel. All right. We hope you enjoyed your Then and Now segment with Mossman by Mattel and by Mattel. So great to do this. I love doing this segment. I just haven't had time because there's been so many new products that have come out that we tried to keep up with. We don't have time to do these throwback reviews. But this month, I'm going to get into some vintage, a pair of vintage reviews. I got my hands on some fun vintage stuff. We're doing a vintage unboxing. I know, blasphemy, right? But I'm just too excited not to open this thing. I don't want to spoil it. I'll just say one's X-Men related and another one is kind of Transformers adjacent, but we'll get into those later. We're going to have some new products. We're going to have some, we'll go back into Movie Madness. I got another Movie Madness segment to do. So this is going to be a fun little month. We're on our way to Rebel Scum Con later this month. So we'll take a little break while we're down there covering that live, and we'll do some segments there. Yeah, I just wanted to do something different. I would love to hear from you guys on what you want to see in a Then and Now. With Then and Now, the rules are it has to be a classic vintage character, and then its modern counterpart that is in the vintage classic style, but it's modern articulation. So, or modern sort of design, but still capturing that vintage style. So what it is not is any of the Star Wars retro figures, because those are, a lot of them are the same exact molds as the Kenner figures. So there's no modern aspect to it. It's just one for one. The Ghostbusters figures that you see behind me that we've done, again, they are just the recapturing of the classic figures. There's no new reimagining of it. The Marvel Legends one, which we have done already, they're perfect because they are taking that vintage style figure, they're adding articulation and other modern elements, same style, same weapons, same basically everything. They're just taking sort of a little modern design and engineering in the figure, capturing that old school aspects though, and they have that essence of the old school character. So it is not a carbon copy, it is not a reaction figure of a previous reaction figure or something like that. It is kind of the same but different in the sense of its evolution, but it is not drastically different like a completely new version of a figure, like something NECA would put out that is not that is vintage inspired, but nothing like the vintage figure. So yeah, I mean, these are the balances. If you want examples, look at what we did. We did Slash from Playmates and Slash from Super 7, which was the same exact Slash essentially, just with modern styling and articulation and a lot of other aspects to it. We did the Toy Biz Apocalypse version 2 compared to the Marvel Legends Vintage Apocalypse. As we showed you, like very similar colors, very similar design aesthetic, some similar accessories, but just sort of more modern. Those are the kinds of examples. And then Mossman here. Mossman by Mattel and Mossman by Mattel. Same everything here. It's got some of the same weapons, but a little bit more modern design. Body's a little more modern design with the articulation, but pretty similar. Not exactly the same, but still pretty similar. So anything you could recommend along those lines that have sort of the evolution of the product line, but are still keeping it old school, we will definitely love to do. So let us know what you think, and we'll pick some of those up and try to do a review on those as well. So we love hearing from you. We love getting suggestions. We try to make it happen if it's all feasible. Some stuff is just difficult to track down, or it's ridiculously expensive, and we're not going to do that. I don't like doing slideshows, so I don't want to just show pictures of stuff. I want to actually have it here, make that connection, and be able to talk to you about it and show you. So if we can get it, we will make it happen. We'll use some of our connections to try to track stuff down. So that is all for this time. I hope you enjoyed this segment. I enjoy doing these. They're fun to bring these characters back to life and look at the modern takes, because we're in this sort of vintage renaissance where we're getting so many lines now are giving us throwback characters from so many different producers. So we're getting these great old school characters. It's great to see them again and to see where they came from. So that's all for this time. Like, subscribe, and follow. See you guys next time.